Hey Central Virginia, are you curious to know what is predicted to happen in our local market in 2025? I'm going to break that down for you in this video. Let's jump into it. What is going on, party people? My name is Chris Elliott. I'm a local realtor that has sold over 600 homes over the last 11 years, strictly in our market. In this video, what I'm going to break down for you is 3 predictions for our local real estate market. And if you stay to the end, I'm going to give you 3 tips that we're currently giving to all of our seller clients as well as to all of our buyer clients. Let's jump into it. Prediction number 1, we are going to see the tale of 2 markets. So we are currently experiencing a real estate, a housing market in the United States right now where we have certain markets throughout the country that are super cold and are buyers markets. Markets like Boise, Idaho, pretty much any major city in South Florida, Austin, Texas. These are markets that absolutely went crazy during COVID, and they have definitely, the pendulum has swung back the other way. We're seeing where time on market is been extended in these markets. They're in buyers markets, and they're even starting to see some price depreciation in these markets. However, on the other side of the spectrum, we have markets like our own Central Virginia that continues to prosper. We're continuing to see a hot seller's market, and we're continuing to see prices growing. And since no one ever believes what I have to say, I'm going to show you the news articles from Realtor.com as well as Zillow.com that support what I'm telling you in this video. Why is this, might you ask? Why is our market still hot? It's kind of sometimes weird for Richmonders to think that Richmond is one of the hotter markets in the country. The reason being primarily is the 2 biggest feeder markets that we have, basically where people move from into our market, are the New York, New Jersey, kind of tri-state area, as well as Northern Virginia. And the 2 things those areas have in common is they are much more expensive than our Central Virginia market. So not only are we having people move from those markets to our market, but they are also driving our prices up because everything is cheap compared to where they're coming from. I say all this to say that if you are watching national news networks for your real estate coverage, you're going to be getting misinformation more than likely. Second prediction is mortgage rates are scheduled to come down, but not as much as you might be hoping. So the new predictions are out and they've been adjusted. And what you'll see is that the major forecasters are predicting that we're going to be somewhere in the low to mid 6% range by the end of the year. We're certainly not going to see a huge drop off in mortgage rates like had been previously projected, where experts were saying that we were going to be in the 5s by the end of this year. Unfortunately, it looks like we're going to be sticking in the 6s for the remainder of 2025, or at least has some predictions right now. So if you're somebody that's been holding out, waiting for lower mortgage rates, I hope you packed a lunch. And last but not least, the third prediction is we are going to continue to see price appreciation at more moderate levels and not at the hyperinflation rates that we saw during COVID. So if you look at the graphic, you see a lot of the major forecasters are predicting anywhere from 5.5% appreciation to 2% depreciation, basically home prices going down. I think it's important to note that none of these reputable sources are calling for any doomsday dystopian predictions of a 20% or a 10%, price crash. So you might think that real estate is a bubble, but all of these reputable economic departments of these firms are not predicting any real estate bubble that's going to pop in 2025. Now, I personally think we're going to see north of 5% appreciation in Central Virginia. If you look at the graphic, you'll see that we saw 7.2% price appreciation this past year in 2024. That actually outpaced most parts of the country because, once again, we're one of the hotter markets in the United States. So when you see forecasters predicting price appreciation, typically they're doing that on a national scale. I think locally here, we're going to see north of 5% appreciation. All right, so what does this all mean for you? So as promised, I'm going to give you 3 tips that we're giving to our seller clients, as well as 3 tips that we're giving to our buyer clients right now. So for my sellers, now is the time to prep. So if a home sale is in your calendar, in your future for 2025, yes, it is January the 12th at the time of this recording, but I'm going to highly encourage you to have a conversation with a knowledgeable real estate professional. If you're in Central Virginia, I would love to be that person for you, but find out what, if anything, would be recommended to do to get your home ready for market and start on that now. Because I promise you, if you give yourself 2 to 3 months to get your home ready as opposed to 2 to 3 weeks, which is what most people do, it's going to be a much more enjoyable process. Most people wait to the absolute last minute to get started, and they are terribly stressed and it's a terrible experience. So start prepping now. Second tip, get a home inspection. This is kind of ties into getting your home prepped, but one of the pieces of advice that we always love to give to our seller clients is get a home inspection before you go on the market. The last thing that you want to have happen is that you accept an offer from a buyer and a buyer finds a catastrophic problem with your house that you were not aware of, and now you have a contract that's blowing up in your face. You have a buyer that's stressed, you're stressed as the seller. It's much easier, cheaper, less stressful to find out if there's any issues with your home before you put it on the market, get those corrected, get it corrected by your own contractors, and go on the market with the peace of mind knowing that the buyer may find something on their home inspection, but they're not going to find anything major that you weren't aware of. And then last but not least, 2025 is the year of getting back to the basics. So we went through a period during COVID where you could pretty much slap any home in any condition on the market and you were almost guaranteed to get multiple offers and to sell immediately. I don't believe that we're going to see that market in 2025. We're going to see a market where the folks that do the work ahead of time to get their homes prepped, that have their homes marketed well, that have their homes listed with the right agents are going to do exceptionally well. I think the folks that hire the wrong agents, that don't do the prep work, that don't get professional photos, that don't do all the things that we know achieve a high sales price are going to pay the price when they go to the market, and they're not going to have as good of results. Formal buyers, if a home purchase is in your schedule for 2025, I'm going to encourage you to talk to a real estate mortgage professional now. Find out, even if you're super confident that you're going to be approved, even if you're super confident that you're going to be able to afford whatever you want to purchase, it's still not a bad idea to talk with a mortgage professional. Find out what your mortgage payment would be based on your down payment, based on your interest rate, find out what you're comfortable with, and just get really comfortable with the numbers, because once you're comfortable with the numbers, then you could zero in your search on particular properties. But until you do so, you're simply not ready to buy a home until you get pre-approved. Secondly, we've already kind of alluded to this in the video, but the market is still hot. So yes, we're not in the COVID craziness that we experienced over the last couple of years, but buyers need to understand that we're still very much a seller's market. We're still a very hot market. The median percentage of asking price that sellers are getting, at least in the month of December, was 100%. So if you're entering into this marketplace with the mistaken notion that you're going to be able to negotiate some crazy deal because that's what your uncle did in the 1980s, I hate to break it to you, you're probably going to be looking for a long time and you might not eventually find a home. And then last but not least, jump in front of the wave. So we are already starting to experience this in the first 2 weeks of the year. Yes, we have, but we expect that a lot of buyers are going to re-enter the marketplace in 2025. We had a lot of buyers that sidelined themselves when rates jumped up, but what we're already starting to see in surveys in my own personal business is we have a lot of buyers that are finally coming back into the market. They're finally throwing in the towel and saying, you know what, we don't think rates are going to be dropping anytime soon. We need to move, like our family's grown, or we need to downsize, whatever it is. So we expect a lot of folks to be coming into the market. If you can find a home suitable for yourself and your family before everybody and their mother decides it's a good idea to buy a house this spring, I would encourage you to jump on that. The good news is, if and when rates come down, you can always refinance, but you can jump in front of the price appreciation that we're scheduled to see this year. So guys, that was our January 2025 market update. I hope you found some value in that. If you have any questions I didn't answer, questions, comments, thoughts, fears, throw it in the comments or shoot me a DM. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next month.